freundlichen in der höheren Maßgabe Menschen. O mein Meister, in der Sonne und im Schatten deines Lichts, in Gnade deiner Herrlichkeit in allen drei Welten verkündigt werden. Ich suche so viel allein Gottes, dass ich schwöre, Prabhupada, Retter und Freund sind.
Jai Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Go Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Shamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nevisesa Sunyavari Paschati Satana. We're supposed to read this? Where? Right where we left off. How much?
5 minutes.
This is Prabhupada and Mayapur. Wow, that is nuts. Prabhupada is obviously extremely happy to be in Mayapur. The entire project is well managed and progressing wonderfully, built to Srila Prabhupada's own specifications. The central guest house building has good facilities. He especially likes the wide verandas encircling the 3 upper stories, giving the guest house a spacious palatial effect. On each of the 2 upper floors there are 8 rooms, each measuring 22 by 14 feet and 12 feet in height, split into groups of 4 by a central stairway. Most are equipped with 2 ornate wood-framed beds, a table and a chair. At either end of the floor are large bathrooms with 4 shower stalls, toilets, and sinks. Srila Prabhupada's own quarters have 2 interconnected rooms, one for working and giving darshan, one for sleeping. The rooms are very simply furnished. His sitting room has only a raised wooden asana and a low desk, and the floors are covered with white sheeted cotton mattresses and bolsters. In the bedroom there is an almirah, a small table with a very beautiful deity of Lord Chaitanya on it, and Srila Prabhupada's bed. Exactly the same type as the guest rooms. He also has the bathroom at the end of his floor, reserved for his exclusive use. Next door to Prabhupada, Chaitaguru and I are sharing the servants' room. The first thing I did after setting up Prabhupada's dictaphone was install the summoning bell. The lead of which is long enough to reach from his desk to my bedside. It's an electric bell, so lead means the cord. Sometimes 1 a.m. you have to wake up. Srila Prabhupada is only to push a button to instantly alert me that he needs something. As we unpacked, Prabhupada chatted with the sannyasis for a few minutes. He expressed his satisfaction with the enthusiasm of the devotees, the beautiful grounds, and the spiritually vibrant atmosphere. One more paragraph. He glanced around his room. His eyes rested for a moment on an intricately carved, 3-dimensional wooden plaque on the far wall. It depicts Sisi Radha and Krishna and was a gift from an admirer in Indonesia. On the wall beside him hung a large canvas oil painting depicting the Mayapur Foundation stone-laying ceremony. It shows him sitting with some of his godbrothers while disciples and admirers stand around. Above and behind him, dioramas of the Panchatattva perched on a shelf. In such a perfect setting, I was struck by how the simplicity and deep spirituality of his surroundings seemed to perfectly complement Srila Prabhupada's own transcendental nature. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Where do I get one of these? We need one in Alachua. Well, you know where you got this? These are nice. It's a magnet. Marks your spot. So you don't have to just mark the page and remember where. You can mark it exactly. So what's the verse?
6 to 28.
6 to 28. Another one. This temple is full of opulence. Okay, so Ajamil, this is the story of Ajamil, not Ajamil, Ajamil. Actually, Sanskrit would be Ajamila. And this is entitled Ajamila. Ajamil, delivered by the Jamadutas. Yamadutas. If you're Bengali, it's Jamadutas. Text 28, correct? Vridhavananto pitaro Nanyabandhu tapasvino Aho maya dunatyaktav Akritagyena nishchavat Oh, on us old guys, you have to be merciful and give us more light. Oh, there's a light there. Okay. Vridhavananto pitaro. Ah. Merciful. Oh yeah, it's getting better. Nanya bantu tapasvino. Aho maya dunatyaktav. Akritagyena nishchavat. Vridhavananto pitaro. Nanyabandhu tapasvinao. Aho maya dunatyaktav. Akritagyena nichavat.
Vridhavananto pitaro.
Vridhavananto pitaro.
Nanyabandhu tapasvino. Aho maya dunatyakta.
Dunatyakta.
Akritagyena
Nishtavat.
Vridhavananto pitaro.
Vridhavananto pitaro.
Nanyabandhu tapasvino.
Nanyabandhu tapasvino.
Aho maya dunatyakta. Akritagyena nichavat.
Vridhavananto pitaro.
Pitaro.
Nanyabandhu tapasvino. Aho maya dunatyakta. Akritagyena nichavat.
Ladies?
Vrindavananto pitaro.
Vridhavananto pitaro.
Nanyabandhu tapasvino.
Nanyabandhu tapasvino.
Aho maya dunatyakta. Akritagyena nichavat. Vrindavananto pitaro. Nanyabandhu tapasvino.
Nanyabandhu tapasvino.
Aho maya dunatyakta. Akritagyena nichavat.
Word meanings? Vridhao. Old. Anantao. Who had no other person to look after their comforts. Pitarao, my father and mother. Na anya bandhu, who had no other friend. Tapasvina, who underwent great difficulties. Aho, alas. You know what alas means? It means, oh no. Like, oh. Not wow, but like, oh my God. Somebody look it up. Can someone look it up? We get the exact definition. Maya, by me. Aduna, at that moment. Tyaktao, or given up. Akata jnana, ungrateful. Nichavat, like the most abominable, low-class person. What does it mean?
Used to express grief, pity, or concern.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. When you're late and you run into a red light, alas, a red light. Oh no. Pity, grief, or concern. Yeah. Translation. My father and mother were old and had no other son or friend to look after them. Because I did not take care of them, they live with great difficulty. Alas, like an abominable lower-class man, I ungratefully left them in that condition. Is this Jamil speaking? Is this him speaking about how bad he is?
Yeah.
He's reflecting on his life. He's on his deathbed now? Doesn't say. Anyway, he's reflecting on all the bad things he did. Purport. According to Vedic civilization, everyone has the responsibility for taking care of Brahmins, old men, women, children, and cows. This is the duty of everyone, especially an upper-class person. Because of his association with a prostitute, Jamil abandoned all his duties. Regretting this, Jamil now considered himself quite fallen. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ram Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschachara Satarine Mukam Karati Vachalam Pagulam Gayate Karim Dakapa Tamaham Vande Siguru Dinatarinam. I think we would think for a civilized person, they would not further their own interest at the cost of the suffering of others, especially their parents. And according to Vedic culture, and we probably could say most cultures, elders are respected. Any culture that could be called a culture would respect elders, right? And you might say, yeah, but nowadays they're not respectable. So just, yeah, that may be there. But sometimes, according to culture, you have to take care of people even you don't like them, because you have that responsibility. So, of course, many of us became devotees and we neglected our families, and Prabhupada didn't say, well, now you need to go back and take care of your family. He said that the highest good you could do to your family is to become a pure devotee, because they will become devotees in their next life if you become a devotee. But still, Circumstantially, it may be necessary that they need our help and we have to help them. But from a theological perspective, for a devotee, there's no negative karma if he neglects ordinary duties, as long as he does the ultimate duty. But for people in general who are not devotees, and this would be considered very sinful to neglect those who are respectable. Now, of course, we shouldn't think, well, I'm a devotee, so it doesn't matter what I do. I could do anything or not do anything. You ever think like that? A devotee has full rights to do anything they want because the devotee is not sinful. Yeah. I don't know if you think that way, but we used to think that way when we were young devotees. You know, everything's for Krishna, so you can basically get away with doing anything because it's for Krishna. Do any of you think like that? Little bit? Little bit. I'm a devotee. Devotees are the best. Of course, as I said, there is some truth to that, and Bhagavatam says that everyone, all of us, when we take birth, there's certain debts we have. And you have debts or responsibilities to people who take care of you. But that's not just your parents, that also includes the demigods. Because they're providing sun, water, air, so forth. So, in theory, we should worship demigods, at least pay them back. And the sages who give us spiritual knowledge, we're indebted to them, because they've given us something. There's a karmic debt to pay back. Your parents, the earth, there's so many debts. And then Bhagavatam says, you don't have to pay those debts back if you're a devotee. So that's where that idea comes from. Extend that to the neighbor's garden and steal all their flowers. Well, actually, they all belong to Krishna. And if we can steal their flowers, they will benefit, and we can offer them to Didi, and we can save money. Makes sense, right? Well, why don't we just steal their car? Because we could use a few extra cars, right? Why not? I mean, where does it end? It's all for Krishna, right? And as we see in the world today, unfortunately, in the name of it's for God, we can kill people because they were born in the wrong religion. And we don't like them. We don't like people of this religion. So God wants us to kill them, and there's no sin in killing them because they should be killed. So that's where it becomes dangerous, because then you can justify any act, any sinful act in the name of I'm doing it for God, and believe that this is what God wants you to do, and there's no karmic reaction. Actually, it's pious activity. It's kind of scary, isn't it? What do you think? That's where the philosophy leads to. Hare Krishna. So, of course, then you could say, well, look, Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is killing for Krishna. Okay, that could get dangerous, right? Well, if it's okay to kill for Krishna, then I should buy a gun, because I might need it. And just, Arjuna did it, so what's the problem? And yes, if Krishna asked you to kill in the name of Dharma, actual Dharma, then yes, we would have to do it. And then if we said, no, Krishna, I won't kill, that would not be good. But if we say, I will kill, whimsically, because I don't like some ideology or some race of people, that doesn't have Krishna's sanction. Yes. So, what's interesting in this verse is that Jamil is reflecting on his life and he's looking at what he did. Have you ever done that? Can be quite depressing, right? We don't want to do it that much because if we do it too much, maybe we'll never get out of bed and look for a bottle of sleeping pills and just take the whole bottle. And it's like, I live such a miserable, horrible life. I've done so many bad things. But actually, that's good. And why is it good? Because if I lament for my past sins, the idea is I won't commit them again. Remorse. You understand the word remorse? Remorse is, I think about something I did that was wrong. I feel bad about it. And remorse means not only do I feel bad, but I feel so bad that I commit to never doing it again. Or it's such a bad thing. In my present consciousness, I could never do such a thing. That's remorse. So this is actually recommended. And, in Bhagavad Gita it says, nasochati nakangshati. Devotee does not hanker or lament, but this kind of lamentation is good. Because the idea is, if I look back and think, I was so bad, I did this, the hope is I would never do it again. And so the lamentation is purifying. So it's good. Prabhupada actually recommends it. So for the rest of the class, I think we can just sit here and lament for everything we did. And we'll pass out tissues. And the more you cry, the better. Thank you very much. At least we should do a little bit, right? We've all had this experience. Somebody does something really bad and they don't feel it was bad and nobody can understand why they don't feel it was bad. You have that experience? So-and-so did something and they have no regrets. They don't show any shame. They don't show any guilt. And everyone's thinking, what is wrong with them? What they did is so bad. Why aren't they admitting it, right? So I think it's naturally understandable that if we or someone does something wrong, sinful, contaminating and so forth, it's not proper to defend those actions. Oh, this is why I did it. I have a good reason. What's the point of defending it? You're just defending a false ego. And it's not going to help. Right? So if we've done something wrong and we acknowledge it, we regret it, we're remorseful, we ask Krishna to forgive us, say, Krishna, I'll never do it again. That's good. We should do that. Otherwise, we might do it again if we don't regret it. Have you ever done something and done it again that you shouldn't do? Silence means yes. You could say no. Raise your hand if you've never done anything that you regret. But if you do something that's regrettable and you don't regret it, or you try to make an excuse for it, that's a problem. Because how will you get purified if you don't acknowledge what you did is wrong? So we wouldn't do that because either we're a very proud person who doesn't want to admit mistakes, or our ego is so big, not necessarily our ego towards the outside world. Sometimes our ego is so big towards the internal world, like our self-image, the image we have of ourselves. But sometimes we can't admit we've made a mistake because it would go against our own self-image. You ever have that experience? Does that make sense? Like we talk about ego, it's always like what you're going to think of me. But it's always, what am I going to think of me? Because I have a conception of, on a level of 0 to 10 where I stand. Like right now, probably you're not doing this, but maybe if you think about it, you tend to do this. I think we all do this. We enter a room, here there's 20 devotees or so. And we kind of calculate, where do I sit on the scale of 0 to 20? Well, I'm an older devotee, so I'm probably in the top 3 or top 5. I'm a younger devotee, maybe I'm the bottom 3, We're giving ourselves, you ever do that? An evaluation? Like if you're a pure devotee, you would say, I'm number 20. On the bottom, not on the top. That's what a pure devotee would do. But, we sometimes analyze, where do I stand in the hierarchy of people? Or you walk down the street and think, they're drinking beer, eating meat, I'm better. So once you walk out of the temple, you can be number 1, right? So sometimes we may do something improper, and it's difficult to acknowledge it, because then if I think I'm number 1 and I acknowledge I did this, I can't be number 1 anymore. Number 1 to myself. And so we want to rationalize it or make an excuse, which is, it's not the manifestation of humility. Now, what is important for us is to understand how the qualities that we're meant to develop manifest practically. Because if we misunderstand how they manifest practically for us as sadhakas, then we'll try to imitate the behavior of very advanced devotees. So, for example, I have to be humble. Prabhupada has written thousands of times you should be humble. And if I don't understand what humility means practically, for me at this stage, then I'll usually try to imitate a higher stage of humility, which doesn't necessarily mean I'm humble. It's just a good act. I'm a good actor. Hare Krishna. Obeisances. I could do that. That's easy, right? You don't have to be humble to do that. You just have to, have a few acting skills. And then, you understand? And then I can delude myself and think, I'm very humble because I go around like this. But then in the next moment I make some mistake and I won't acknowledge it because self-image is being challenged. And I can't acknowledge that I'm not number 1, that I'm number 5 or 10 or what to speak of 20. I can't acknowledge that. So it's easier just to go like this. Kind of can protect my false ego. And as we know, or maybe you don't know, but you will know now, the perversion of that. And this is funny, of course, and it's funny probably because we've all done it. The perversion of that is, why am I doing this? Because I'm actually humble? Well, hopefully, yeah, but in this example, no. Someone is doing that because they think that's what it means to be humble. But worse, why are they doing that? So they could be recognized as being humble. Which is, of course, a paradox, right? Can you guys give me a trophy that says, I'm the most humble devotee in ISKCON? That would be nice. I'll put that trophy on my shelf. The paradox, right? I have a little medal. Prabhu, where'd you get that medal? What does it say? It says, Mahatma Das is humble. I'm wearing a big medal, with ribbon coming down, 3 colors. It's kind of like, isn't it? Prabhu obeisances. And I'm thinking, can I impress him in how humble I am? Have you ever done that? You don't have to say yes. I think we've all done it to one degree or another. That's our conditioned state. So it's important for us to understand what is the proper activity of one who is humble, or one who is trying to be humble. Because if we misunderstand, we may be activating, inflating the false ego in the name of humility, because we don't really actually understand it. Or we may be imitating it, or trying to imitate a devotee who has prema. And their manifestation of humility looks different than our manifestation, right? Just like if you were chanting japa and you started screaming and crying and rolling on the floor, everybody would think, oh my God, he must be taking LSD. Nobody's going to think, oh my God, Baba. We're going to know. No, you've only been a devotee for like 3 years. It's not Baba. It's imitation to attract some attention. Or you've taken a drug and have lost control. It would be obvious, right? Wouldn't it? Yes? It's like, this doesn't happen in 3 years. This devotee is showing off, or they've got taken drugs, or they have some mental problem, something. We know it. So when we have to know the symptoms. That is a symptom of a very advanced devotee, but I'm not on that level, right? So then I think we'd understand if some devotee was trying to manifest those symptoms, we would think, this is fake. So don't you think we should understand in terms of all the Vaishnava qualities, the 26 qualities, what is fake and what is real for us? Don't you think that's a good idea? Yes? Yeah. Yeah, good. That is good. Yeah, we should. And so the problem we face is that the examples generally we have of devotees manifesting these qualities are pure devotees. So then we think, okay, I'll manifest the same thing. It's like, well, I was watching a YouTube video and this guy was at the gym lifting like 150 kgs. So, I think I need to get in shape. And you walk into the gym and you're like, give me 150 kgs. And you're like this devotee, small. You can't lift on it. Start with 30. Maybe that'd be good for you, 30 kgs. 25, 30, 40, maybe 50. Yeah. Start with something, So when we're looking at the activities of pure devotees, especially how they manifest their qualities or qualifications, then we have to question, is this appropriate behavior for me, or is this just an ideal? And my appropriate behavior for me would be different. We'll have to try to understand that. Does that make sense? Because otherwise it becomes imitation. So I come up to you and I'm my obeisance. And then a few hours later, he's supposed to clean up the prasadam room, but he doesn't. And I walk in there and I have other services. And I scream at him, why didn't you clean up? You're supposed to do this. And I get really angry. But 2 hours before I was right. And I think, he deserves it. He's negligent of his duty. And I don't think, oh, that's not very humble. I think he deserves it. You ever done that? You don't have to raise your hand. I don't want to embarrass anybody. But you know what I'm talking about, right? So then I'm thinking, this is humility, and I'm thinking he deserves to be yelled at. Now, how do you fit that into Trinadapi Sunicina? I'm not sure. Doesn't really work, does it? But I have an excuse that he's negligent of his duty. so I have to chastise him. Now we might think, maybe, just possibly, could be, that if I was a little more humble, I might approach him differently. Prabhu, I see the prasadam room is not cleaned. Is there something wrong? You're not feeling well? You need help? What could I do? Please let me know. I could do that, right? Do you think that would be a more humble way of approaching him? Of course, right? But sometimes we don't do that, and we don't even acknowledge that was not humility, and then a minute later we're around. Prabhu, Prabhu, I'm the most fallen. Hare Krishna. Now I go, yeah, I know you're the most fallen. You just yelled at this devotee. That's proof that you're most fallen. But you don't even recognize that's part of your most fallen. Like, I'm the most fallen. Why? What did you do that made you the most fallen? Right? You walk around saying, I'm the most fallen, and you have no idea why you are. You're like, that's not humility. So, Jamil is looking back at his life and thinking, I was a horrible person. You, me, all of us, we don't want to sit on our deathbed and look back and think, I was a horrible person. I was so nasty to devotees. I was this, I was that. I didn't chant my rounds. I didn't follow the principles. All these things that you want to do, that you know are true, if you don't do them, then at the end of your life, you're going to be thinking, I was so foolish. You're going to feel very bad. Don't you think? You agree? Now, wouldn't it be nicer now to do everything and think everything that is right, proper, Krishna conscious? So when you're leaving this world, you'll have no regrets, and you can peacefully think of Radha and Krishna and the gopis and the cowboy boys and leave your body without any regrets. Wouldn't that be better? Don't you think? Think about this, because the price of improper action, I think, is a lot more expensive and, or we could say, a lot more painful than we might think. Sri Sri Vijaya Gauranga Dal Nitai, just now coming, Vijay. Hare Krishna. Very good. It's like if you look at the laws of nature, karmic laws, we often say, well, you can't escape these laws. And sometimes it looks like someone has escaped. They committed a crime, they're not in jail. But you can't escape the emotional pain of doing something wrong. Right? Do you ever feel pain when you did something wrong? Call it guilt or shame or whatever. You can't escape it because you know it's wrong. So think about it, and think about your life, and think about what are your values, what you want to do with your life, the qualities you want to develop, and then recognize that if you develop those qualities, or you try as best you can, when you're old, in your old age, you'll think, I did it. I did my best. You can die in some kind of satisfaction. And if you don't, you end up like a Jamil, lamenting. Look what a rascal I was. Look what I did. Or look what I didn't do. And so then we have to suffer that emotional pain. And who caused the suffering of that emotional pain? We caused it on ourselves. Right? Nobody else caused it. So it's something really powerful to think about. Like, I'm tempted to do something, or I'm doing something, and I think, if I give in to this weakness my whole life, I'm going to really suffer in the end of my life, thinking I should have given that up. I should not have done it. Right? And so if there's anything you need to do or to give up, sooner the better. And that will free you from all that internal negativity. Now, the last point. How did Ajamil become the way he became? Because he was born a Brahmin. Brahmins are clean. Brahmins are sattvic. Brahmins are sense-controlled. Sama, dhamma, tapo, socham, shamdhira, japamevacha. You can read in the Gita the qualities of Brahmins. What happened to Ajamil? He was a Paka Brahmin. Like sometimes we have a Paka Brahmachari. Paka! Paka means perfect. Up every day, early in the morning, perfect tilak, perfect sika, dhoti just the right color. Just Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And one day, they're gone. It's like, what happened? What happened? Oh, his girlfriend came and it was all over, Anyway, he could have gotten married, but for the example here, it's described, Ajamil was fine, he was a Brahmin until prostitute is an interesting word. Because in any traditional culture, there's no sex outside of marriage. It's just, it doesn't happen. Except with a prostitute, right? But we know in our present culture, you don't have to have a prostitute, you just have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. So sometimes Prabhupada would interchange the word prostitute and girlfriend. Because if someone is having sex with their girlfriend, he would call them a prostitute. I mean, the cheaper prostitute. But for all intents and purposes, it's the same thing. So you could say, oh, Jamil fell down with a prostitute. Well, he married her. How many people do you know who go to a prostitute and then propose? It's not common, right? It's not actually, maybe slightly different than what we understand. So we could think, it seems to make more sense that she was his girlfriend. But she was, he's a Brahmin, and she was, I guess, considered she was considered low class, but low class then and low class now. She was probably way better than most low class people today. But anyway, but the point is, maybe it's not even her fault, it's just his desire for her. It brought him down into ignorance and passion. And, maybe we could say she was innocent. She was just doing her job. And, but in any case, Prabhupada describes that through that association, he lost his Brahminical nature and all these bad qualities came. So just as through proper association we go up, we can easily go down through different association. That's what happened to him. He just went straight down. He became very sinful, and to the point where he was stealing to maintain the family. It was bad. So Prabhupada talks about it a bit in the story. Maybe we'll read it later, or have you read it already, or is this just the beginning? What part of the story are you on now? How far? Have you read that whole fall down yet? Yes, no? Nobody knows.
The Vishnu Dutas, they just succeeded in convincing the Yamadutas that...
Okay. So his whole life of falling down, it was described already, or maybe it starts here and goes back, I don't know. But anyway, if you come to that section in the future, then Prabhupada elaborates on this, what happened to him. He became overcome with sexual desire, and he lost his mind. He gave up his wife, children and ran off with another woman. Kind of just, that was the beginning of his fall, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So just as Mahat Sevam Dwaram Mahor Vimuktes, the doors of liberation are open when you serve the great souls, Mahatmas, Mahat Seva, serve the great souls. Mahat Sevam Dwaram Mahor Vimuktes, Tamo Dwaram Yoshita Shangi Sankam. Tamo means darkness, right? Dwaram means gate. Mahat Sevam Dwaram, like Hari Dwar, the gate to Hari, Hari Dwar. Tamo Dwaram, the gate to darkness. Sounds like a movie. Tamo Dwaram, open the door. Ah! Yoshita Shangi Sangam, the door to darkness, lust. Or to associate with those who have lust. And so this association of this prostitute, not a cultured woman, it wasn't a relationship that was like planned by their parents. This is a good relationship. You can raise a nice family. It was simply lust. Tamo Doram, and he just went. So we're not against marriage, but we're against marriages based on lust. It doesn't work. We want a marriage which will bring you up, not down. And so look what happened to a Jamil. He went to hell. What is there saying? Hell in a handbasket? There's a saying in America. You went very fast down. Just due to that attraction. Couldn't control himself. It's interesting, right? Be careful. One little thing, it's like a germ, it's very small, but it can have a big effect. So we have to be careful. Now, last thing I want to say, of course we could say more, but if you look at the Bhagavatam, it has examples of pure devotees, but it also has examples of people who made mistakes. It has both. Because example of people who did it right will not be complete if you don't have examples of people who did it wrong. Like sometimes if you're learning something, we'll say, this is the right way to do it, and this is the wrong way. Right? Don't hold it like this, hold it like that. Instead of hold it like that. But we know the tendency would be to hold it like this. We say, oh no, hold it like that. So hold it like this, not like that. So Bhagavatam has, do it like this way, don't do it like this. And so we have examples of Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Ravana, here a Jamil, and Bergari the hunter. So, we have examples of how to do it wrong. Right? So, we need those examples. So we shouldn't look at those and just kind of think, oh, that's like a story about someone who did it wrong. It has no relation to me. No. The Jamil is showing you how to do it wrong. Like, don't do it like a Jamil. Right? Don't do it wrong like a Jamil. That's, Bhagavatam is there. Whenever I speak about Ravana, I always tell devotees, don't think that's Ravana and you are you and there's this huge difference. No, we have a little Ravana. Right? You have a little Ravana in you sometimes. No, Prabhu, I have a big Ravana in me all the time. Yeah. So, we should never think, oh, that's a demon. That's a karmi. Yeah, but do you have any of those tendencies? Probably, yes, I do. At least if we reflect on it. The bad characters of the, Then there's Venu. Venu's killing, his friends. Okay. I never killed my friend. How can I relate to Venu? I say, well, did you ever mistreat a friend? Yeah, I have. So, at least some reflection is there when these characters show up in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, the Bhagavatam is like it's only supposed to be about pure devotional service, right? It's right in the second verse. This book is about pure devotional service, and all these like people show up who aren't pure devotees. It's like, how did you get in the Bhagavatam? You know, who put you in here? You know, get you out of here. You know, you don't belong here. No. And Chaitanya Charitamrita also, you'll get, you know, the good devotees who make mistakes, and people who aren't devotees who make very big mistakes. So now we understand it's not an accident that they're in there. There's a reason. That's for us to reflect. How am I in some way like them? No. I know that is not always easy to reflect because we don't always have objectivity about who we are. So sometimes it just seems like that has nothing to do with me. I'm not like them at all. Maybe, I hope that's true. But in all likelihood, there's probably some way we can relate to even the worst characters. Maybe not to the degree that these people misbehaved, but some sense of going in that direction. Have you ever mistreated anybody? Of course. So there you go. Ravana, Venu, so many other characters. They mistreat people. Why did they mistreat people? No reason other than these people were in their way. They were obstacles to their sense gratification. Right? You ever mistreat someone who's an obstacle to your sense gratification? Maybe. If the answer is yes, then, you know, you have these examples here to reflect on. So that's the idea. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gau Premanandi Hari Hari. Ajamil ki jai. But then, of course, today we're having the japa. So Ajamil is one of our holy name acharyas. Because maybe not acharya, but he sets the example of the effects of namabhas. Because he chanted Narayana, oh Narayana, Narayana, I'm dying, Narayana, Narayana, come Narayana. Prabhupada said, I was at the lecture, Prabhupada said, he was chanting his son, his name, but because he was a Brahmin when he was young, by Krishna's arrangement, he remembered Narayan. Although in Bhagavatam I don't think it says that. But Prabhupada said it, like Krishna inspired him to name his son Narayan. But that was a blessing. And then he chanted his son's name Narayan. He wasn't thinking of Narayan, but at some point Narayan came in his mind. And he was calling the name of Krishna. Yet it wasn't considered offensive, because he was calling his son, but it was Krishna's name, so he got the benefit of Nam Abbas, second stage of chanting. You want to hear something interesting? If you talk to the average devotee, they will say, "Oh Prabhu, I chant 16 rounds of Nam Aparad," and occasionally a few mantras seep into Nam Abbas amongst the 16 rounds of Namaparad. It's not actually true. And Ajamil is the example. And Ajamil is chanting Namabhas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when you begin chanting, you start at Namabhas. So, my dear devotees, we start at Namabhas, and you have to do something to get to Aparad, or not do something. You have to actually do the wrong thing, and then it becomes offensive. So, if we don't do the wrong thing, it's Nam Abbas. If I try to avoid the offenses, it's Nam Abbas. So just because you're, my rounds are so bad, I'm so offensive, no. If you're trying, it's not Nam Aparad if you're trying to chant. So, then devotees say, well, why wasn't, how come Jamil's chanting was not considered offensive? Because the Yamadutas didn't give him a little sheet from the Padma Purana which had the 10 offenses. Which is a whole interesting topic. Like, if you don't know the offense, you can't commit it even if you do. Because it's not, like I came yesterday on the train. And there was something they didn't tell me that I didn't know, that some of the seats are reserved. But there's a little digital printout on the side of the seat that tells you if it's reserved or not, but nobody told me. So I just thought there's no reserved seats, and I sat in the seat because I didn't know. But, so someone came in and said something in German, like it, and I understood. I'm in his seat. Means you're in my seat. No, they were nice. People were very nice. So then I got up to sit in another seat, and another person said, rah, 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 rah. That's my seat. I'm like, okay. So I'm walking around, and pretty soon all the seats are full. I don't have a seat. I go, this is very interesting. But I didn't know. So it's not an offense if you sit in someone's seat and you're from America and you don't know. But if you know, and you just go, no, I'm not getting up. So Jamil was not given a sheet of the 10 offenses. So when he said Narayan, this is interesting, because he wasn't even chanting Narayan. It was not possible for him to make the offenses because you have to know them to make them. You say, that sounds weird. Well, go to the Bhagavatam, and it says that sometimes Muslims would say, haram. Haram means horrible, right? Haram. Something would happen. Haram. Oh, they just chanted Rama. Namabas, second stage. I don't know in your country. But back in like the 1980s, probably in your country also, back in the 1980s, nobody had shaved heads then. Shaved heads came later. Maybe like the late 90s or early 2000s, shaved heads were like cool. Right? So we had a temple in a kind of an area with a lot of kids who were not very polite. And they used to drive by the temple and they'd go, Hare Krishna, get a job. Hare Krishna, get a haircut. Just, if you wanted to preach, if you wanted to get people to chant, just, shave your head and stand in front of the temple. And, on a Saturday, we were 1 block from the beach, you'll get all these surfers like, Hare Krishna, ha ha ha, like that. That happens here sometimes? Yeah, definitely it must have happened in the old days, right? For sure. And so the Bhagavatam says, if you chant even jokingly, making fun, or chant indirectly, we have a hotel in America, maybe you have it here, it's called the Ramada Inn. So Rama, well, that's actually Sanskrit word, giving Rama, giving pleasure, Ramada, or it would be Ramada, but they say Ramada. But anyway, it's close enough. So Bhagavatam says, even if the word Rama or Krishna is in there, like we're going to do we have in English, if they have some kind of festival, they'll say it's like they'll end it with O Rama, like a car Rama or a pizza Rama. I can't remember. It's like a big festival, but it ends O Rama. It's like, okay. I can't think of a word, but it's quite common. And so Bhagavatam says, ice cream O Rama. We're going to have an ice cream festival. Everybody said Rama, even though it's just 2 syllables of a longer sentence, or another word. And so Bhagavatam says, that's Namabhas. They get the benefit of chanting, because they didn't know the holy name. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, I wish no one told me what the 10 offenses are, because once I learn the 10 offenses, then, if I don't follow them, it's namaparada. And I'm looking at everyone in the room and I'm thinking, I feel bad for you because I think it's too late. You all know them. And so if you're thinking, would it have been better that I didn't know them? The answer is no. Because if you don't know them, how can you avoid them? And if you don't avoid them, how can you come to the level of Shuddhanam? You have to consciously avoid the 10 offenses. And then you can come to the highest level of chanting. But a Jamil or any of those people driving by the temple saying, Hare Krishna, get a haircut, although it's Nam Abhas, because they don't know the 10 offenses and are not taking to the chanting, they can't avoid them, and therefore they can't consciously avoid them, and they can't come to the stage of Shuddhanam. But my point is, well, 2 points. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, you start at Nam Abhas. Isn't that good news? And you work your way down. So, my dear devotees, just don't work your way down. And how do you not work your way down? You know what the 10 offenses are, and you try to avoid them. And how do you avoid them? Don't be lazy. Don't be distracted. Don't be apathetic. Apathetic, you know. Apathetic means I don't care. You don't have that word in Russian, apathetic? Yeah. Yes? What's the word? Oh, okay. Oh, you're speaking in German?
No.
Russian? Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. So, the good news is if you try to avoid the offenses, it's not considered offensive. It's only considered offensive if you make an offense because you're not trying to avoid it. Now, doesn't it make sense to you if chanting with offense is the wrong way to chant, we should try to avoid offenses? Does that make sense? Like, I show you how to use a tool. This is the right way to use it, and this is the wrong way. Okay, obviously, I should use it the right way. Of course. Because what's the point of using the tool the wrong way? Because it doesn't work that way. Like, here's a screw. Screws for the ladies, because you probably didn't do all the work that we as men do. Screws have, at the end of a screw, it has an indentation for a screwdriver. And a nail has no indentation. Some ladies know what screws are. Of course. You know what screws are, right? Yeah. And a nail is flat. You know why? Because nails are meant to hammer and screws are not meant to hammer. Screws are meant to be screwed in. Right? Have you ever hammered a nail? I mean, hammered a screw? For whatever reason. Well, it's not proper. If you hammer a screw, it doesn't go in properly and it's going to get loose after a while, right? There's a right way and a wrong way. So it's like, okay, I have a screw and a hammer, but I don't have a screwdriver. I need to find a screwdriver. This is not the right way to put in a screw. It's to hammer it, just screw it in. Because when you hammer it, it opens the hole. And when you screw it in, it doesn't open the hole, so it sticks. However, to the wood, right? Have any carpenters here? Yeah. So, it's the same way. It's like, there's a right way to chant and a wrong way. So, if you're chanting the wrong way, it's like you're building something, hammering in screws, and at some point it's going to get loose. It's not going to work properly. It's a very simple point, isn't it? The problem with some devotees is they think any way you chant is the right way. You can't chant the wrong way because it's the holy name. But you will find out later today that is not true, and why it's not true, and how it's not true. And it's very important to understand this, because if we don't, then we'll think, well, any chanting is good, and I won't make an effort to chant better. Does that make sense? Okay. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Do we have time for questions? I've already gone over time, right? Oh, okay, good. Today's a special day. We have a retreat, so if we go a little longer now, we'll just start a little later. It's okay. Right? Spontaneous. Devotion should be spontaneous, right? Okay, anyone have any questions? Yes?
On the point where you said that we are faking or are imitating humbleness, but we're actually not. But often it's heard that we should fake it.
Oh yeah, fake it till you make it. Yeah, okay.
So should we fake it, or?
I just heard Keshava Swami said, you should fake it as long as you know you're faking it. You should fake it and not believe you're actually doing the real thing. And he said, and you should not try to fake other people out that you're on that level. So, but when we talk about fake it till you make it, we wouldn't talk about faking some level that is like only for Paramhamsas, generally, because it doesn't have any benefit, generally. Faking it till you make it means more like, okay, on my level, humility would look something like appreciating devotees, not criticizing them, maybe serving when I don't really like this person, but I'll serve them, and cooperating, and I really disagree with someone, but for the sake of the mission, I'll cooperate. Humility would look like that. So faking that is not faking a Mahabhagavat. Faking that is what we should be actually doing, right? So that faking is good, because by that faking, we'll develop those qualities. Like, I will appreciate you even if I don't. I'll say something nice to you even if I don't feel it. But by doing that, it will develop the desire to again appreciate. Or I won't say anything bad about you even though I feel like it. So I'm faking it. Oh, she's so bad. Zip my lips. Don't say it, don't say it. And I come up to you and go, oh, so nice to see you. Can I do something for you? And inside I'm like, why did you come here? So that's faking it on our level. But to fake it on a high level, what's the point? You know, okay, Prabhus, we're going to fake it till we make it. So get your beads out and start crying and rolling on the floor. Let's see how that works for us. Yeah. I've never done that at a japa retreat. Maybe we should try it. You know. No, we don't do that. It's not, you know, that's not faking it till you make it. It's not going to work. It's not going to help anything. But you want to do the things that you're supposed to do on this level that you're not inclined to do. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Of course, yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be rolling on the floor today. Okay, everybody lay down and start rolling. And scream. Try to get your hairs to stand on end. Try to get your voice to choke. Try to get the tears to come out of your eyes. Let's see how that works. Yeah. They would kick me out of ISKCON if I did that. Right? He's become weird. He was a nice devotee, and all of a sudden he started telling people that they need to practice ecstasy. It would be weird, right? One devotee's running down the street, Gauranga! Gauranga! You know, what's wrong with him? I'm practicing. When I have bhava, this is what I'll be doing. I'll be screaming Gauranga. I'll be mad. It says right there, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. When will I be mad? Chanting Gauranga on the bank of the Gangas. Or we'll use the Gangas. As you finally get to Mayapur, you run to the Ganga. Gauranga! Gauranga! And we never see you again. What happened? He's practicing going mad. And it works. He's in the mental hospital now. It's very effective, right? Hare Krishna. Yeah. Just be careful what you imitate. The Prabhupada said, you know, you follow in the footsteps. Don't imitate. Imitation would mean that I'm doing something, and now because I'm doing it, I think I'm on that level. Look at me, I appreciate you. I have no envy in my heart. I must be a Paramahamsa. No, I'm just acting that way. I have all kinds of envy in my heart, but I know it's wrong, so I'm not going to act on it. Practice. I'm actually a big fake. I really hate you. I just smile at you because I know it's the right thing. I'm using you as an example. It's not true. I love you. You're beautiful. But you understand. Any other question? Yes?
You said that it's important and useful to remorse things that we done in the past.
Yeah.
But isn't it also when we are the whole day in remorse? So would you agree that being remorse can also be an obstacle?
Oh, good question. Yeah, you might have to become a monk, because then you could sit in remorse all day. They do that, right? Yeah. Well, I think it's like saying, you take prasadam, like you take lunch. We have dal, we have rice, chapati, sabji. So it's healthy. Dal, rice, wheat, sabji, it's all healthy. And so I tell you, dal, rice, wheat, and sabji is very healthy. And like 6 hours later, you're still eating. I go, why are you eating? Well, you said it's healthy. So I would say, it's an awareness. I'm aware this is healthy, and then I eat, a certain amount, which is healthy. So it's an awareness that part of the purification process is regret. So maybe next week you'll do something and it was wrong. You should regret it. It's purifying. And naturally, regret, if we're not trying to suppress ourselves, regret will come if we allow it. And it'll come in the right time, in the right quantity. We'll kind of I feel bad. But I know I can't feel bad the rest of my life, because then, it's that becomes tamagun. So regret is sattvic, but if it continues, it becomes tamasic, because it becomes handicapping. So then we're going to ask the question, well, how do I know how much regret, or how do I know how much anything? Judged by the effect. If it's having a positive effect, it's good. If it's having a negative effect, it's probably now the good thing has become unhealthy. You ate too much food and now you can't digest it. So the healthy food has become poison because you can't digest it. So one time Prabhupada was asked about guilt, because there was a devotee who was, I believe he was a priest, or he went to seminary, so he studied theology, so Christian theology. So guilt plays a big part in Christianity, especially in some aspects. So he's asking Prabhupada, what about guilt? Is guilt good or is it bad? And so Prabhupada gave the same answer. He said, a little guilt is good. And so if you wanted to analyze that in terms of the modes of nature, you could say a little guilt is sattvic, because sattvagun brings you up. Too much guilt is tamasic, because you'll just start materially limiting. I'm so bad, I'm so useless. Why even remain a devotee? I've done so many bad things, and I keep doing bad things, and what's the point? And Krishna probably would be happy if I just moved out of the temple and like that. So that's tamagun. Sometimes we lament, I'm so bad, I'm so rotten, I'm so this and that. And that's how a pure devotee feels in the height of their humility. And it has a very positive effect, because it's coming from something very pure. But if I think I'm so bad, I'm so rotten, and I'm thinking like that all the time, it's probably a sign of unhealthy psychology, and probably a manifestation of tamagun, and therefore it's having a negative effect. Right? So you have to be careful, because you'll read Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur, and there's a lot of lamenting. I am wretched, lowest, rascal, evil person, worst, And if we actually thought that way about ourselves, we would become very depressed. Right? So that's why I said in the beginning of the class, you have to be careful not to imitate, because That's 300, that's like 300, that's like 150 kgs. You know, it's like, oh, we're supposed to lift 150 kgs. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is, so that's what I'm supposed to do. And then, you know, what happened to so-and-so Prabhu? Well, he went to the gym, you know, and now he's in the hospital. He broke his back, pulled his muscles, you know, trying to lift 150 kgs. Oh, I didn't know it takes like a year to work up to that. Yeah. So, another principle, which more or less I'm stating, but it's stated in a different way. Anything good can become bad. So you can take something good, like lamentation is good, but then it can be unhealthy lamentation, or it can be a healthy lamentation. So it's kind of like just enough to motivate us so we don't fall back into that. And then it serves its purpose, and then I can be forward-thinking, positive. We've all done so many bad things. If we meditate on them all the time, it's very depressing. And then that's not the process. But it's not the process to not acknowledge that and lament, you know. You know, we've all done so many bad things before we were devotees, but we didn't know. It was the culture. It's just the way things were. And sometimes I think, I wish I hadn't done that, because it makes an impression. You know, it's like every materialistic thing we did impresses our consciousness with a desire to do it again. That's how it works. Every time you do something, it leaves an impression to want to do it again. That's how addiction works.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. So, but that works positively also. Every time you do something in devotional service, it develops the desire to do it. And then you do something sinful, and then your proclivity to do it again is stronger. Like, you know, I'm just going to do this once. And you do it once. Well, that was amazing. So you want to do it again. The tendency to want to do it again is there. So sometimes I think, oh, when I was a teenager, I wish I hadn't done this, because the proclivity, although obviously not that strong, it's there, some subtle, you know. If I didn't do it, it wouldn't be there at all, you know. Sometimes I wish I didn't hear all this rock and roll growing up, because I can remember every song and every word. It's like whether I want to or not. It's like, how do you wash it out of your head? You know, you can try to forget it, and usually you won't think of it, but when you're walking down the street and your favorite song is there, you start singing it because it's in there, right? So it's kind of like that. I wish I hadn't heard all this. I wish I hadn't done all this, because it leaves an impression. But I don't have to spend my whole devotional career lamenting about it. It's just like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it again, and I'm happy I'm not doing it again. And this just serves as a little, like, net. If I ever, you know, fell, I have this net of, like, I regret so much I have done this. I wish I didn't do it, but I did it, it's too late. So it's a good net, you know, to protect me from ever doing it again. Yes?
Yeah, can we relate it to, as far as I recall, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that we can materialize spiritual thing and we can spiritualize material thing.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
like, for example, prasadam is spiritualized food, but if we overeat, it becomes materialized.
Yes.
Can we compare it?
Yeah. If you, I mean, the definition of spirit, that's what I was saying about chanting, because it's the holy name, and Prabhupada says Krishna is there in his name. So we think, well, I just chant, it's going to work anyway. But then you have this thing called offenses. And then Bhaktisiddhanta says, if you chant offensively, Krishna's not actually in his name. Wow! Have you heard that before? Like, party's over, you actually have to chant properly for Krishna to be present. You can't just chant any old way. You know, like my joke, Bhakta Burfi is my character. Bhakta Burfi does everything wrong. He's your typical, fanatical, black and white bhakta who misunderstands everything. So This is Bhakta Burfi, and he's like, puts his hands in his beads, and he turns to his brahmachari friend and he goes, Prabhu, yeah, Prabhu, yeah. Wake me up when I finish my rounds. Yeah, I think, well, yeah. I sat in the temple for 2 hours. I chanted a mantra. It sounded like this. I was there with the devotees. You know, obviously that's not going to work, right? But shnik shnik mam ram, shnik shnik mam ram. Like we think, how can you, like contaminate the holy name? It's pure. Well, the answer is, was it actually the holy name in the first place that you were chanting, or was it something else? Right? Like, so yes, I can take prasadam and I can think this is just for my sense gratification, rather than think, oh, this is Krishna's prasad, his mercy, I'm being purified, I'm fortunate, thank you, Krishna. I'm meditating on the deity, that's different. Different effect, same prasadam, different effect. So the prasadam will never become material, but its effect on me could be not spiritual because of my consciousness. I can neutralize the effect. That is good news and it's bad news, depending on what you do with that news. But if you utilize that news properly, then you'll see your spiritual life will get better, your chanting will get better, because you'll understand even though it's spiritual, my access to it can only be there if I'm spiritual, if I have the right consciousness towards it, right? Just like we as men are supposed to see women as Mataji, mother, you as women are supposed to see men as son. Okay, that's nice. Right? Does it mean every time there's a woman, I think Mataji? Not necessarily. I may think, hey baby, what are you doing tonight? Right? That possibility is always there. So woman is, according to our culture, to be treated as mother. So does that mean everyone will treat them as mother? Well, it depends on their consciousness. But they are mother, whether you treat them as mother or not. Right? But if you treat them as mother, then you'll be affected in a different way than if you treat them as, hey baby, let's go out tonight, right? But they are mother. You can just go down, the deity, if you see it as stone, then it's stone. And sometimes we say, if your heart is like stone, you will see the deity like stone. And therefore you see the deity and nothing happens. Prabhu, did you see the deities today? They were really beautiful. Yeah, I saw them. You didn't even see them. Right? So many devotees say, when I first came to the temple, I didn't see the deities, even though I was looking at them. Any of you have that experience? They're just like, what did you see in the altar? It was like a bunch of flowers. And they saw the flowers, they didn't really, some statue, something, And then you become purified, and then you're seeing the deity with the eye of devotion. It's much different. Yes? Ja. Ja. Ja, nix. Ja. Da, ini, niet. How do I say? Ja, odo, do. Oder nicht? Nicht or nix? Nicht. Nicht. Yeah, good. Okay, anything else?
What is the turning point when we stop lamenting? What is the actually situation when we can stop lamenting and start doing something different? Is it beg for mercy, or we can do something?
Okay, if you want to lament, just put your stopwatch on for 3 minutes, and you can lament for 3 minutes. She's asking, what's the turning point? It's not like it's just one state of consciousness, lamentation. It's an aspect of consciousness. So you could be very enthusiastic and very blissful At the same time, somewhere in your mind, there's some, like, I wish I hadn't done that, or I'm very sorry I got angry at the devotee, and I'm lamenting. So it's not like one or the other. You can have both. But it's just that the lamentation shouldn't really be any different than the positive, because it's meant to be positive. So we don't see lamentation as negative. If, like I was saying, if it's negative, it's material. So it should all be positive. It shouldn't be like, today I lament, get out the tissues, and 3 hours later you're trying to get out of your room to see the world. It's not like that. You lament and you come out like really purified and enthusiastic. I feel purified. I purified my consciousness by regretting some action or some thought. I feel better, right? You go to the dentist, you have a tooth and it's painful, and you get a cavity removed, or you get a filling, or you get it pulled, or whatever, and you come out and you feel good. You lost something, but you lost the pain. So if I'm lamenting, it's meant to purify me of something, so I should feel lighter and better because I'm purified, right? Rather than, if material lamentations is going to weigh you down. Oh, it's so bad, so bad, so bad. But this is lamentation to purify us of that sinful desire, so I should feel better, right? Yes? Good? So it's not, the turning point is just to realize this is what lamentation is. It should be sattvic. It should be positive. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it should never be negative. Negative things in Krishna consciousness are positive. Yes?
Hare Krishna, how can we relate to when Srila Prabhupada said actually the actual humility means to understand that only Krishna, like nobody can save me, neither my friends, nor my relatives, nobody, only Krishna. This is the true humility. How to relate this to our understanding of humility? This is which I cannot understand.
Well, what Prabhupada means is that humility in the Krishna conscious sense, humility in the Krishna conscious sense means I am completely dependent on Krishna for everything. For my intelligence, for my ability, for my life itself, I'm totally dependent on Krishna. I can't do anything without Krishna. I'm giving class. If Krishna doesn't allow me to speak, I can't say anything. I'll be up here. I'm like, I have nothing to say. Class is over. So that sense of humility is empowering, because we feel always to ask Krishna to please help me, please empower me, and then when we're empowered, we're always acknowledging this is Krishna who's empowering. So it's not me, I don't think I'm the doer. That's humility. Humility also means I need help. From who? From Krishna. That whatever success I have, it's Him. And so I know that, so every time I make an effort, I say, Krishna, please help me. So it's a total acknowledgement of His empowerment, of everything, and so that way I'm dependent. That's the meaning of humility. And I mean, just juxtapose it to pride. What is pride? I don't need God, I'll do it myself. Right? Don't tell me what to do, I know how to do it, I'll just do it. That's pride. I'm always successful. Right? And so if you go out in the secular world, and you, like I was saying last night, you want to learn how to be successful, they'll say, here are the 7 steps to success. None of the steps include God, and depending on God and getting God's mercy. It's just, here's a formula. Karma mimamsa. I don't need God. So there's no humility there. Even if that person comes up and says, excuse me, is it okay if I get in line in front of you? Oh, he's very humble, but he's thinking he's doing everything, and there's no acknowledgement of a higher authority. There's no humility there. Does that make sense? It's material humility is different than spiritual humility. Material humility is, no, go in line in front of me, no problem. That's material. But there's no God there. So we would say there's no real humility without God, because who are you humbling to? the creator, the controller. And you don't think you're creator and controller, and you think that whatever you have is coming from him. That's humility. But without that, it's just external. Nice guy, they let you go across the street, apologize when they make a mistake. That's all nice. But you don't need Krishna for that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Real humility without God is like we say, this heavy verse in the Bhagavatam that has disturbed many of us, or maybe still does. A devotee has all good qualities, a non-devotee has no good qualities. And then I know a lot of devotees that don't have all good qualities. And I know a lot of non-devotees that don't have all bad qualities. In fact, I know some non-devotees that seem to have better qualities than some devotees. Right? We've all gone through that in our head when we've seen that verse, which is spinning our head around. I don't understand this verse. Right? Here's an example. What do we mean they have no good qualities? They have humility, it's a good quality, but it's not spiritual humility. It's material humility. And ultimately, if one is a materialistic person, then they'll even utilize their humility for getting ahead materially. Ultimately, because that's their goal of life is not to please Krishna, but it's to enjoy, right? So that all the good qualities, what's the end result of the good qualities? To enjoy. And so therefore it said those aren't good qualities because the utilization of it is not for Krishna. So sometimes I say, the neighbor has a brand new Mercedes and you have a 1973 Toyota Corolla with 4,376 dents in it. The paint is faded. Clouds of gas, clouds of smoke when you start it up, and it goes along. But you use that car to go out in Sankirtan. So that car is better than the new Mercedes, because that new Mercedes is just used for the person's own material benefit. So that sense, you could say, it's not a good car. What do you mean it's not a good car? It is a good car. Well, what they're using it for. So that verse says, because they're using it for the wrong reason, you can't say it's a good quality. It's like, this is a beautiful gun. Oh, I really like it. What are you using it for? Oh, I just shoot people, for fun. It's not a beautiful gun anymore. I'm protecting people with it, so they won't be harmed. Oh, it's a beautiful gun. So your humility is beautiful or real when it's in relation to Krishna. But if it's just without it, it's interesting to even call it humility. Of course, atheists would argue with us, but at least for our philosophical understanding, there's no meaning to humility without a God, because there's no one who do you humble yourself to. I don't bow down to anybody. This one Christian asked an atheist, he said, if God did exist, would he be worthy of your service? This is like a really interesting question to talk to an atheist. Just say, if God did exist, then ask a question. Would he be worthy of your worship? Would he be worthy of your service? Interesting question. Would he be worthy of your humility if he did exist? Like the greatest, yeah, of course. Okay, looks like you're all hungry. And we've been here, we're going on almost hour number 2, right? Thank you for your patience. This was just a good verse to warm up for today's seminar. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.